Hey guys, my name is Carl, welcome back to another video, and today we have a review of what's in front of you right here, which is the Thrustmaster t.flight HOTAS X. And if you don't know what a HOTAS is, I will explain it quickly. Essentially, HOTAS is an acronym, I think that's the right word, for hands-on throttle and stick. So we've got a throttle unit and a stick unit, and obviously this is mainly used, or basically used, for flight simulators, flying games, stuff like that. So essentially I'm going to be reviewing it today and giving my opinions. So a bit of a background: I've had it for about a week, 2 weeks now, and I've been using it quite a bit. I bought this for the game Elite Dangerous, which is a space exploration game thing, which I will actually have a review on soon. And before we get into the actual review, just want to say uploads will be coming back a bit more, hopefully. I've just been away for a while, sorting some real life stuff out and getting that in order. But let's get on to the review then. So, let's first look at the whole thing as a thing. Essentially, in the box you'll get the two units separated like this. There is a wire in the middle. It's pretty thick wire, you know. It's pretty, you can't exactly stretch it out or anything. It's just there. You're gonna have to ignore it. It's just one of the downsides of this thing. So yeah, as you can see, it's mostly a plastic build. Now, I'm pretty sure it's £36.99 I got it from one of the big box stores. Let you figure that one out. And that's about $42, but I've seen that in the US it goes for about $40. So it is a relatively cheap HOTAS for HOTASes anyway, and what you pay for is what you get most of the times with these things. So I paid what is essentially cheap, and I got what is essentially cheap. So let's just have a look at the overall build quality. Now, everything is plastic, as you can hear from me just tapping on that. All the buttons are plastic. The only metal bit is here, and I'm not even sure if that's metal, but there are obviously metal screws. That's the only metal bit, is the screws and maybe this, I'm not too sure. Everything else in this is completely plastic. Internals, obviously there's metal in there and stuff, for the circuits and stuff like that, but basically this is all plastic. Now, one of the most important things about a HOTAS is it doesn't move when you're in space, just yeeting around. If I can move the wire, it would help a little bit. So as you can see, I'm properly pushing on this, as you can hear, and it's barely going anywhere. Obviously, when you're in an actual situation, you're not really going to be going like that. You're going to be, moving it sort of like that, at the most, really. The throttle is the same. It's just an over degree, I think that's what they call it, an over push, over degree, something like that. Rotation doesn't move the unit at all, because usually you're just gonna leave it at full throttle or half or something like that. So let's look at the underside. So if we just pick this up here, bring it over to the webcam. As you can see, this is where the wire that connects the two units together is stored. So essentially, the wire from the USB cable comes in through this unit, and it has to get to this unit somehow. So they've just put a wire here, just to give it the option of being separatable, which I'll show you in a moment. So you have a little wire ring here, I'll call it, where essentially you can wrap it around here to make it longer or shorter, depending on how far away you want them to be. So that's that. And on the other side of this unit, you have an Allen key wrench, whatever you call it, which is kind of hard to take out, so I won't do it now. and you also have like a little routing hole here for the wire to come through, and you have this tension adjuster. So if you want, there we go, focus it. If you want it to be like a really tight, strong joystick where you have to properly push it, then you can do that. If you want it to be like literally you flick it and it will go somewhere, then you can do that. It's pretty simple. I like to keep it on about 75% strength, really. It's alright. Not the strongest thing, but then again, it is plastic and rubber, so you're not going to get the strongest sort of experience. Now, the way to put it together is there is a little latch just in there. I don't know if you guys can see that, and there is also 2 screws there. So essentially you just put them together like that, and then you screw it in on the underside. It comes with one unit. But I know most people prefer to have them further apart. So say, obviously, sometimes you might want to reach your keyboard to navigate menus, reach through your mouse. So people like to put their keyboards in between the 2. I can do that, but then there's not enough room for my mouse, because mouse pad is sort of big, sort of small, some medium sort of size. So yeah, I like to keep it separated, not past my keyboard, but just far enough that I can reach in and, you know, navigate some stuff like that. That's basically that for the build of it. All the buttons feel very solid, you know, none of them are exactly high quality, you know, you're not going to get that satisfying click from any of them. Some of them are a bit flimsy and wobbly over here especially. As you can hear, they're not exactly too great, but they get the job done. When you're playing the game, you got your sound on and everything, you won't hear it. You'll just be like, okay, that's a button, let's press it. But I'll get onto that in a little bit. So let's now focus on the feel of the units. And I want to cover the joystick unit first, because for most people that's the most important thing. Now, as I've mentioned, it is all plastic, and yeah, it's basically plastic and rubber construction. So let's go over the axes on the joystick here. So what you have is pitch, down and up. You have roll left and right. You have your left and right as well. So obviously some people might want to get focus here. There we go. Might want to get rudder pedals to go with this, which you can purchase, but they are more expensive than this altogether. So, you know, do as you will. And personally, I prefer to have it all in one. I could myself use my Logitech G27 driving pedals, put them down there and just assign them to rudder left and right. But I prefer just to use it all in one, and you know, for me it doesn't irritate my wrist or anything, and it's fine for myself. Now when you're moving around, at the current center I've got is very smooth, but it does like to spring back to the center, so if you let it go it'll do that. But most of the time when you're flying, you're not gonna let it go back. That's just a bit stupid. It's a bit silly just to do that in middle of flights. But rotating around and stuff, doing multiple movements at once. Say I wanted to pitch up, roll left and your right, I could easily do that. It's just a matter of finding the spot. You just sort of lean into it. Same other directions and stuff like that. Very easy to use, and twist around and stuff like that. It's not very, you know, inconvenient to do anything at all. In terms of comfort, what you have is this sort of pinky rest sort of thing, which your hand curls around. If I just sort of go like that, you can see it a bit better. Just there, and yeah, you just put your hand on there. It also tilts it up a bit, which makes it easier for you to wrap your finger around here, resting on the fire button, which isn't weak at all, so you can tap it and won't happen. You actually have to push it in for it to do anything. And then there's a little like thumb rest bit here, where essentially your thumb naturally goes around there like that. So in terms of comfort, for me it's very good. Obviously it's not adjustable, so not everyone will have the same experience as me. If I can just focus over here, thank you. Not everyone will have the same experience as me, but for my hand size right now, it fits basically perfectly. I would say, you know, this is sort of the median of what, you know, the hand size this is meant for. Obviously, other more expensive models from Thrustmaster and stuff like that, you can get adjustable like hand grip things that move up and down here, stuff like that. But for me, it's comfortable and very easy to access all the buttons on it. That's about it for the joystick. There's not much to say about the construction. It's not very weak, although this panel right here, if you can see that, if I pick it up, there's a little panel right here. Not too sure why they just didn't make it all plastic and continue that down there, but sometimes that does get a little bit squeaky. All you have to do is just push it back in, it'll be fine. So that's all I have to say. All the problems, that is literally one problem on this part of the unit, is that coming a bit loose sometimes. But that is basically it for the joystick unit. Obviously it is quite hefty, and it does also have buttons down here for the PlayStation 3, as this is a, can you focus? Hello? This is a PlayStation 3 and PC unit. If I can just focus this here. There we go, have to manually focus. So what you have here is a mapping and preset button, and you have on the back a PC or PS3 slider as well. So that is pretty good. But that's that for the joystick unit. Now then, moving on to the throttle unit. What I'll do is I'll just move that over as far as I can, just to get it in the center of the shot. Yes, we do now have the throttle unit, which same sort of construction. Buttons are a tiny bit weird on here, I will say. So what you do have, if I push that over there so you can see, is two buttons here. Don't know what they actually mean for like PlayStation and stuff, but they're just two programmable buttons on the PC. This one up here is the home button. I assume for PlayStation that will take you back to the home menu, but on the PC it's just not a button. It is just not a button. And my webcam is having some trouble focusing here, sorry about that guys, but oh, there we go. Basically you press it and it goes red. That's a power LED indicator, and also when you press it, it goes red. It disables one of the axes found on here, which I'll show you in a minute, but just keep it on green and you'll be fine. The overall throttle actual unit, not very far travel. It just goes over, I would say, about 45 degrees. I would say that is about 45 degrees of movement there, or maybe it's 90, I don't know really, without actually having to properly measure it. But what it does have is an interesting feature of this little midpoint here. So essentially what you can do in some games is have reverse thrusters, like Elite Dangerous, which I use it for. You can have reverse thrusters, and some people might find it useful to have it set 0 in the middle, all the way forward, and reverse. Personally, I have it as forward only, and have this button here as a toggle switch for reverse, and just put it all the way forward. And that means basically in the middle is your blue zone, which in Elite Dangerous is essentially the optimal speed for your maneuverability. So say if you're in combat, if you are traveling somewhere and you need to slow down to get ready to actually drop out of a super cruise, stuff like that, you can put it in the middle and it will be the optimal movement for whatever you're doing, really. Moving on to the buttons, on the actual throttle unit itself, you have 4 buttons here. Now when you're holding it, your thumb naturally rests here, and you can also, with my hands anyway, sort of just press that. It's not too far out of the way, but it's not too close. I would have preferred it to be sort of like here, maybe. That would be a better placement, sort of there, but it's fine where it is, really. And also on the other side here, if I can just flip it around, we have 2 buttons here, one quite big and clicky, the other sort of soft, squishy. And we have another axis here, which is your lateral thrust, which is going side to side, and I also use these 2 buttons for my vertical thrust. And if this button here is red, it will disable these completely, like you cannot map them at all. So keeping it on green just means you have more buttons to use. So say if you were playing an actual flight simulator like FSX or something like that, you could have these as your rudders if you didn't want to use the yaw on the actual stick. So yeah, basically how you hold the throttle, you just hold it however you want, really. Obviously your thumb will rest down here, and the rest of your 4 fingers up here, and it just depends on your hand size whether you rest your middle finger in the middle of the lateral thrust and sort of stretch over here, or whether you rest your ring finger in the middle and just have to do that. Up to you, really. But it is completely the same build quality. It's basically the same in design as well, apart from this one has a ring compared to the actual circle there. That's just how it will connect as a unit, but on its own it's completely cool. I would have liked to have seen an adjuster on here, maybe down here, just to adjust the strength, because it is pretty easy to, you just do that. It's not very hard. I would have liked to have seen maybe an adjuster here to tighten that up a bit. Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard, but that's that. It is a little bit loose in the middle here, but that's going to come with cheaper products, but you're not going to notice it because you're not going to be really in the middle fiddling with it too much anyway. You're going to either have it at max, 0, or just in the middle most of the time. So that's that for actual looking at it and the build quality. Yeah, so I think I've covered most of what I can cover here. The buttons are very tactile. You've got on the joystick here, you've got a fire button, you've got like a sort of bomb button, you'd call it, where you know, usually on like planes and stuff you have to flick up to click thing. I'm sure you guys have seen that before. You've got like a little hidden button here, which is quite nice, and another button there, and an 8-way hat, which, you know, usually you just use it as a 4-way, because trying to get those other 4 are kind of difficult. So, you know, you just use it as a 4-way usually, but if you mapped all of them to, you know, something that if you press it, it doesn't really matter, then obviously go ahead and use it as an 8-way, but I find it better to use it as a 4-way switch. So essentially that is it for the review of this thing. As I've said, it is quite a cheap HOTAS, and well, for HOTASs anyway, and it is a very good starting HOTAS. I would recommend this if you're just looking in, you know, to getting into flight sims. Maybe you've already bought one and you're like, okay, I'm tired of using a controller or keyboard and mouse. I want to go and get something that's actually going to give me a feel of the game and some realism. So this is a very good starting point. You can get it on Amazon, other stores in your country. I have seen on Amazon though, it was $55 for this instead of the $37 that I got it for. So just look around a bit, you'll find a very good price for it. Obviously there is other HOTASs. There is the t.flight 1600M, I think it's called. I've seen that it is basically a bigger brother to this thing. But if you're looking into any of those, you can have a look at that. But I think that's going to be it for the review of this thing, guys. Stay tuned for more videos. Obviously that Elite Dangerous review coming soon. But thank you guys for watching. My name's Cal, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.